Coorg or Kodagu is a small landlocked district in Karnataka. Tucked between the Western Ghats, it is only slightly larger than Goa but very sparsely populated. Known today for its rolling hills and world-class coffee, Coorg actually produces over half of Karnataka's coffee and contributes to 4% of India's coffee exports. But coffee is a more recent story, brought in by the British only in 1845. The real legacy of Coorg runs deeper than its plantations. This land has given India some of her finest warriors. 2 army chiefs, 1 field marshal, 4 air marshals, dozens of generals and hundreds of soldiers. How has a community of just over 1 lakh people become the backbone of India's military legacy? The answer lies in their bloodline and in a vanishing culture built on honor, warfare, and memory. The Kodavas, the original inhabitants of Coorg, have long been identified as a martial people. You see that the British were actually obsessed with categorizing India and Indians into martial races. What does that mean? It means that communities which are very good with army prowess. But their origin, it is still a mystery. One theory actually says that they're the descendants of Kshatriya clans, ancient Indian warrior classes. Another traces them to the foot soldiers of Alexander the Great's army who stayed behind after 320 BCE. A third, a more dramatic theory actually links them to the Brazini tribe, warlike Kurds from the highlands of modern-day Turkey, Iran and Iraq. The similarities in features, dress and their defiance of forced conversions are very striking in fact. While there is no conclusive scientific proof, all theories converge on one point, which is that warfare is not actually incidental to the Kodava identity, but it is very central to it. So much so that when studies were proposed to trace their genetic origins, they were quietly shelved, fearing that the results may actually divide the community and result in violence. The British did not just recognize Kodavas for their martial prowess, they also somewhat institutionalized it. In 1794, they raised the Coorg regiment to fight Tipu Sultan's incursions into the Kodava kingdom. Kodavas had suffered under Tipu Sultan's rule when he massacred them mercilessly. This very Coorg regiment later played an important role in the 4th Anglo-Mysore War, where Tipu was finally defeated and killed. Military service actually came with rewards to these people, which was land. They were given these Jamma lands, large plots at subsidized prices, as a reward for their military service. These lands are still hotly debated in the legal circles today, but Kodavas enjoy an even rarer privilege. They are the only Indian community which is exempt from the Indian Arms Act, which means that they can own a firearms without a license. This shows a reflection of trust which has been built with that community over centuries because of their loyal military service. By 1903, the British went even further. The 11th Madras Infantry was reorganized and renamed as the 71st Coorg Rifles, recruiting only soldiers from Coorg. But those numbers weren't enough. The unit was disbanded in 1904, and in 1942, the 1st Coorg Battalion was raised. Like its predecessor, its insignia carried the traditional Kodava knives as a tribute to their heritage. In 1946, it became the 37 Coorg Anti-Tank Regiment, part of the Royal Indian Artillery. Post-independence, it remains a part of the Indian Artillery Regiment today, proudly wearing the artillery uniform but with a Kodava soul. From a tiny population, Coorg produced India's first Commander-in-Chief, Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa. He was decorated with the Order of the British Empire for his role in World War II. He took charge of India's independent army in 1949. The date of his appointment, 15 January, is now celebrated as Army Day. Then came General K.S. Thimmaiah, the only Indian to command an infantry brigade in World War II. The two even shared the same clan name, Kondadara. Timmaiah clashed with Defence Minister V.K. Krishnamenon over political interference in the army and resigned in protest. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru personally asked him to stay on, and he even finished his term. Even today, Kodagu actually boasts over 100 serving soldiers, 20 major generals, 4 air marshals, and 3 lieutenant generals, in a population smaller than many mohallas in Delhi. Just imagine that. So why does this one place produce so many soldiers? First, tradition. Military service isn't just a job for people in Kodagu, it is a rite of passage. Generations of families have served in the army. To not serve is to break tradition. Secondly, culture. At weddings, men wear ceremonial daggers, the Piche Katti. Grooms carry the Odi Katti. Even festivals like Kelpod are dedicated to weapons, which are cleaned, worshipped, and honored. And they even hold an annual traditional shooting competition called as Bodhi Name. As a part of the celebration, all this is done. Thirdly, it's the terrain. Life in the Western Ghats trains you physically and mentally. The land itself is a military academy of sorts. And fourthly, gender parity. It's not just Kodava men, but even Kodava women are not sidelined in their society. They too have served in the armed forces. M. Rajeshwari became India's first Kodava woman pilot even before independence. Today, nearly 10 Kodava women hold the ranks of major, captain and wing commander. But this proud martial tradition is beginning to fade. The recruitment process is tougher now. Hindi or English written tests, high science and math standards are not always accessible in rural Kodagu. Physical activity is decreasing. City life is more attractive for the younger crowd. Intercaste marriages are also rising. And many families have moved away to the United States, to Australia and many other countries. They are disconnecting from their roots, from their rituals and from their language. In the 1970s, the Kodavas numbered over 3 lakh. Today, barely 1.25 lakh. And only 40% of them live in Kodagu. What is the result of this? Fewer soldiers, fewer festivals, and a slowly fading identity. The Kodava story is much more than military statistics. It is the story of a civilization that chooses to define itself through service and sacrifice. In an India racing towards modernity, traditions like these aren't outdated, they're the anchors. If we let this legacy actually slip, we lose not just soldiers, but a philosophy. A philosophy where honor comes before personal gain, where service is sacred, and where war, when necessary, is fought with dignity. Coorg doesn't just grow coffee, it grows courage. A fading culture, yes, but one that has stories to tell. And if we listen, just maybe, it'll continue to shape the soul of Indian soldiering.